Maybe you would have expected me to drop some dice today, but no. This is question 31 of RPG A Day 2016. What is the best piece of advice I was ever given for my game of choice? Well, let me tell you first about the game of choice itself. Advanced Fighting Fantasy. You know, the people who are following my channel already knows that this is my favorite fantasy game of all time. Rules light with lots of flavor. It has this old school feel while it flows like a modern game. It really nails the fighting fantasy game book's tone, okay, around your table. This is a fantastic game. The best piece of advice I ever got, well, never came from a direct source. You know, no one ever came to me to tell me how to run this game, to get the best out of it. Nevertheless, you know, the forums from Orion Games, the publisher of the game, you know, the link will be below. Orion Games forum has lots of good advice and helpful hints, and you know, it's a very welcoming forum. I've learned a lot on that forum, and there's lots of great house rules there. Okay, this is a great forum, but my best piece of advice never came from this. Well, my first great piece of advice I ever got for Advanced Fighting Fantasy came, well, from the fighting fantasy game books themselves. Yeah, well, these are not role-playing games, you know, this is limited choices game books to read, but the way, you know, the pace of those games really helped me shape good adventures for it. And at the same time, the books are well written, you know, the tone of those books is very special. So yeah, the authors themselves, through their writings, you know, writing their story into the book, helped me into getting the tone of the game and, you know, trying to recreate that with my table. Other piece of advice came from, I don't have the book with me, unfortunately, but the first fighting fantasy role-playing game. Well, this was a very minimal game system, okay? But the author of the game, Steve Jackson, not the Steve Jackson, you know, but the Steve Jackson from Fighting Fantasy, not to confuse him, wrote this role-playing game and has lots of advice how to run it with, you know, a let-loose attitude and, you know, freestyling it, which was helpful into, well, being less nervous into running this game. This game is way more complete than the first version of this role-playing game, of course, but you know, this let-loose attitude and freeform helped me, you know, getting the best out of this game. But the best piece of advice came from a YouTube video. This video is called Damn Good D&D. It's from a guy called Clint Krause. Well, of course, this is not Dungeons and Dragons. When I discovered this game, I was searching for an alternate way to run Dungeons and Dragons. I wanted the feel of the game, but some of the stuff in D&D were bothering me a little, you know. And you know, I have found my answers there. This is a great alternate game from Dungeons and Dragons. There's no levels or stuff like that. This is a very different game, but in my opinion, it really recreates the feel of old school Dungeons and Dragons. That's exactly what I was searching for. And then, you know, this video came out with lots of advice on how to run D&D. Yeah, Clint Krause teaches us how D&D should be played, why this game was built for, okay, and how Gary Gygax thought about it. Okay, yeah, we can play Dungeons and Dragons in any fashion we want, but he tells us that this game was meant to be played in a special way, and he tells us very clearly. This is a very eye-opening video, and he tells us that he didn't create it, that, you know, he simply shows us by the end of the video the module Keep on the Borderland, saying that everything he said was in this, you know, was in this module. I invite you to really watch this video. It's really worth it. And yeah. Well, he made this experiment with the Dungeons and Dragons Rules Cyclopedia, which is the most complete version of what was D&D at first, before the advanced Dungeons and Dragons branch uh, began. So yeah, Mr. Krause really told me how to run this properly. Even though it's not D&D, all his advices were great to run this. You know, since that video, I was, you know, before that there was some stuff that I wasn't really nailing properly. But after that, you know, I think I've never failed a game of Advanced Fighting Fantasy. I really know my way out to run great adventures, and I simply take these advice into this video and put them into practice. I think it could fit any type of old school fantasy game. You know, you could take his advice to run Tunnels and Trolls, or maybe old RuneQuest. Even though I think modern gaming could benefit from advices from Mr. Clint Krause. Yeah, I'm really happy to have discovered this video, and you know, it was kind of the missing pieces to really enjoy this game totally. Now, I have never failed a game since that video, okay? Every time I ran this game, everyone had fun around the table, and yeah, so this is a great video, a great piece of advice, and you should take a look at that. So, this was question 31 of RPG 2016. Yeah, this was the last, by the way, last question of the RPG 2016 series. Thank you for if you have watched them all, or some of it. Well, I'll be there next year for the next series of questions. And, well, all the while, I'll have other videos if you want to stay tuned to my channel. So, thank you very much. My name is François Letel. This is my channel, JDRD30. And up to next time, I hope you have as much fun in your life as in your games. Goodbye.